Thrifting ain't easy, unless you're watching me.
You motherfucker, you guilty!
Welcome, you're watching the Thrift Store Rundown where we bring Hollywood home on a budget. There's no denying it. True crime stories have taken over the country's psyche. And speaking for my mother and I, we can talk about true crime stories until prison officials decide to put kids' playground equipment in recreation yards. Instead, what I want to do today is talk about 5 items all guilty of being pleasurable. 5 items that have something to do with crime that will have you feeling not so guilty of saying, better you than me. I can't confirm or deny that this was possibly inspired by a certain ex-president being convicted 34 times over of hush money-related charges. It just so happens to swing that way. No matter what the inspiration, there's no denying how we will kick it off this week, just like we do almost every week, with chow time. Man, the taste of prison food alone. If someone could taste it outside of prison, that would probably be the strongest deterrent of crime in the outside world. It would make you stay on the straight and narrow alone. Unless we're talking about food at the Litchfield Correctional Institution, a federal prison. How would it look any different than normal prison food? How would it taste any different than regular prison chow? Well, the revelatory recipes I'm about to show you in here would be just enough to make you blush orange. And that's coming from somebody who's an outsider to LCI, meaning I haven't watched one iota of Orange is the New Black on Netflix, even though I'm debuting them on my channel with their companion cookbook. I didn't even know they had a companion cookbook to begin with, folks. But yep, proof positive, $4.99 from Budweiser Blue Thrift Store. They have it. An image publication featuring bites, booze, secrets, and stories from inside the big house. 4 authors contributed. Genji Cohen, creator and executive producer, alongside fellow EP Tara Harmon, and writers Hartley Voss and Alex Reginelli. I know very little of Orange is the New Black, other than the synopsis, inspired by the book of the same name by Piper Kerman, who was, back in the day, a real power player in the world of business. And then a decade later, a drug-related charge caught up to her, and she had to do 18 months in a federal prison. Piper Kerman, of course, was then changed to Piper Chapman for Taylor Schilling's lead role. She and Alex Voss, Laura Prepon, well, those are 2 inmates that I could definitely vibe with, if you get my drift. And by vibe with, I mean commit another felony inside LCI, because, you know, doing the deed in there is a crime. And that actually brings us to the first feature in this cookbook. A Prison Glossary by Lorna Morello. This is Inside Lingo. From WAC, the Women's Advisory Council, all the way to the chocolate and vanilla swirl. When a white and black inmate do the deed together, sprinkles optional. You want to keep an eye out for that, which, by the way, is the recipe and not a crime in here, and the neutral loaf. It's meatloaf that really isn't meatloaf, aka faux loaf, with no benefits. But the recipe they have in here for faux loaf, or neutral loaf, is actually real meatloaf. Only you can figure out the secret ingredient in this one. But anyway, let's get on with it. We begin with Piper's Burrata Sandwich by Piper Chapman. It will make 2 sandwiches. Now, as to the presentation of the recipes themselves, I have a theory. The recipes that are presented in more of a refined layout like this demonstrate the type of food that people can eat outside of prison, that people inside those walls dream about eating outside those walls. As for the food that's presented, well, on traditional cafeteria prison trays, those represent the more authentic prison meals, and I'll show you them later. I forgot to highlight this first. Always start with breakfast. Miss Rosa's Huevos with Spinach by Rosa Cisneros, which serves 2. Good many recipes here serve 2 or 4. And that is one of the prison recipes I'm talking about. If they're presented on a traditional cafeteria tray like this, the more authentic. This is Shoe Moldy Mystery Meat, aka the Nutriloaf, from the Department of Corrections Dietary Information Pamphlet. So, it's a DOC recipe. It's actually real meatloaf because you can recognize all the ingredients in here. This will serve 6. And you can even recognize the ingredients for the chimichurri sauce right here. Chimichurri. But only you can figure out what's the secret ingredient in this, well, everyday common list of ingredients for meatloaf. So what is it? And Piper wants to know, where did you get it? Looks like 3 different dinners mussed into a mound. This is homemade Chinese food for the one you want to stay in with by Polly Harper. That'll serve 2 or 3, just in case you wanted a bunkmate of yours to experience benefits afterwards. Hey, no problem with that, as long as you're not doing it inside prison walls. I really can't determine what type of Chinese food this is. It's not a stir-fry or anything else. It's just what it is. It's Chinese-inspired chicken. It looks delicious nonetheless, and the photography in here, while varied, is plentiful and quality looking. At least in terms of the refined layout of the aspirational recipes in here. Like this next one, Figs Lobster Sliders by Natalie Figueroa, which will make 8 sliders. We'll eat the mini lobster rolls piled high on sandwich buns, on burger buns really, with a slice of tomato. Mini lobster buns with benefits. Cracked almonds by Piper Chapman. The recipes, by the way, are divided into breakfast, lunch, dinners, snacks and sides, and drinks. Oh, and let's not forget, desserts. Next up in the snacks department, snacks and sides for survival, we have here Chain's Sticky Fingers Movie Night Popcorn Balls by Ray Chain. That'll make 36. Ideal for a huge crowd coming over to your house, binging Orange is the New Black from the very beginning. I respect that it gave Netflix part of its DNA in original productions and put them on the map in terms of making original content. And it's got the hardware to prove it. 4 Emmys, 2 back-to-back for Uzo Aduba, aka Crazy Eyes, and even a Peabody. Feel like a drink in a clink? I got 2 for you. Piper's Cleanse by Piper Chapman. When you detox, when you self-care, when you self-cleanse at home, it feels fantastic and relaxing, she says. This cleanse, which is made of warm or room temperature water, organic maple syrup, fresh lemon juice, and a pinch of ground cayenne, should do the trick. A pinch of ground cayenne. I know somebody in San Francisco who would appreciate that. Or at least I've heard of him. In addition to recipe photography, we also have photography of the cast, hard at work inside prison walls. That would be Alex. Laura Prepin. You know, of that 70s show fame. Real nice. This is her down and dirty margarita. And that'll make 1 drink. So yeah, we got enough recipes in here for 1 or 2 drinks, 1 or 2 people. For somebody who wants to get down and dirty and get a taste of the real hard life, this will be the section for you. As we alluded to earlier in the prison glossary, we have here Crazy Eyes Chocolate and Vanilla Fudge Swirl. Only this time you can indulge without getting additional time in the shoe. As they say, the solitary housing unit. There are many names for that, like the hole or dark cell. Hey, this is how you can indulge in a sweet treat without getting caught. And that'll make you 36 pieces. Mini marshmallows and chocolate chips. And Crazy Eye says to stay away from the gummy bears. And finally, Maria's Valentine's Day Cookies by Maria Ruiz. That'll make about 4 dozen 2.5-inch heart-shaped cookies. I know this isn't Valentine's Day, for heaven's sake, but for the one you love, any day would be a good day to remind everyone about how grateful you are to be free with your lover and not within the walls of this institution. But you know what? Seeing how Piper Chapman finds chemistry with almost every bunkmate she meets, and even a few staffers, this would be a good time to start binging Orange is the New Black. Then again, No time is a good time to visit prison, right? Anyway, this retails for $24.95 for the US, $27.95 in Canada, $15.99 in the UK, and the only acknowledgement, the only dedication in here is for the whole orange family, all of whom are juicy and delicious. Just like this book. For an outsider who hasn't watched 1 second of Orange is the New Black, what a way to break it in, huh? It receives the maximum of 5 out of 5 claps. Hey, rip up any of the recipes in here and then queue up Netflix and let the blood orange black magic take over, right? What better way to be locked up with your buttmate for a resting night of binge watching and binge eating? Thanks for tuning in. Just so you know, there's no limit to bringing Hollywood home on a budget. Please go ahead and check out another awesome review like this one by clicking here, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here. Until next time, I'll catch you, as I always do, on the flip side.